Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Hospitality Talks, where I, Katie Moses, founder and MD of CAM, am joined by Dawn Lawrence, who is the founder and CEO of HJ UK. Dawn, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on Hospitality
Hello.
Talks. Can you just let anyone out there know, because I know that this particular episode is being filmed to be released after the BII People Conference. So there will be a QR code that lots of people will have scanned through to find out who we are and what we're talking about. So if you could just let anyone out there know, who are HJ UK?
Hello, my lovelies. So I am Dawn Lawrence. I am the founder and CEO of HJ UK, which is Hospitality Jobs UK, which is a bespoke hospitality job board just for the hospitality sector. Also, the founder of HUE, which is Hospitality Universities United, which is connecting students with companies across the UK and also bringing in the academics so they get the buy-in as well. Advisor to the Only Payment Way charity, but also we've got strong partnerships with BII, well, exclusive partnership with the BII, and more recently with the Institute of Hospitality. So, all about recruitment, been in recruitment for 35 years. So I think I'm probably one of the best out there.
I think you're definitely one of the best out there. And with a sort of 6 years tenancy myself in recruitment, but quite some time ago now.
Yeah.
I feel the pain points as to what you go through on a day-to-day basis dealing with recruitment in hospitality. But Dawn, what I want to speak about today, what I want to have a conversation with you about is post TLI 2024, results of which are being released next week. We have
Yeah.
actually conducted some research, CAM, HJ UK, and the BII, looking at licensee recruitment. So looking at how we are
Yes.
recruiting and retaining good quality tenants in the pub industry. Let's start with the negative so that we can kind of move through into some positivity as we chat. And that is that around 1 in 3 are not happy with the recruitment process of their pub company. Is that right?
Yeah, sadly, 1 in 3 are not happy with the recruitment process. 1 in 3 are saying they don't know where to look for jobs if they want to run a pub. 1 in 3 are saying it seems to be a pattern when you see the results.
Yeah.
And we're saying 1 in 3, so that's 3 in 10. That's 30 in 100. So we are losing people, but we have a solution. We always have a solution. And in the last 5 years, it hasn't moved much. And this is what I'm a bit concerned about, especially with innovation, especially with tech. I do have some concerns around a couple of things, which I no doubt we will cover today, but hopefully to offer solutions on how we can change that 1 in 3 or 3 in 10 to 1 in 10 and 10 I mean, we're never going to get it 100% right. Recruitment is challenging and no one is ever going to get it 100%. So we can't beat ourselves up. We're doing a great job. It's so much better than it was, but let's see if we can do a little bit better, maybe a little bit smarter. That's the word.
I agree. And Dawn, I just, going back to when I first started working in research and in the hospitality industry, which is, I'm hesitant to say around 15 years, I remember there being issues with recruiting licensees and recruiting tenants. And the kind of overarching strategy seemed to be take ex-police people, take ex-military, and the
Yeah.
idea was that they could work within the confines of authority and that they would be good to bring in structure into a role. We kind of found out quite quickly that wasn't a great strategy, didn't we?
Yeah, there's space in the market for these people, these people. But you've just got to be really innovative and not dismiss anybody, because you have some young talent that's coming through that are maybe assistant managers or general managers that work the shifts, that knows the understands the P&L, understands the rotas, that just want to do it for themselves. So we've got to look after those entrepreneurial people that are coming through the ranks. But equally, we can look after. We work quite closely. We are the only job board that's got a partnership with a career transition program, which is the Forces. So we encourage the Forces into running the pub. And interestingly, we did a survey with the career transition program. And the top 3 jobs that people wanted to go into in hospitality, bearing in mind 0.08% went into hospitality because they didn't know about hospitality opportunities. Crazy. They do now
Yeah,
because
good.
hospitality jobs is all over. So they do now, and also I've done a couple of sessions with them. But interestingly, the second job they wanted to do was run a pub
Yeah.
because they wanted to run their own business, they wanted somewhere to live. So we can't dismiss those sort of
Yeah.
forces people that are leaving the forces. It's about 18,000 every year.
Wow.
The police, I think, yeah, that used to be you're 100% right. It used to be about police forces, but those entrepreneurs coming in, I think we are making it difficult for ourselves for people to find these jobs.
Yeah.
I think it's what we're doing is, majority and all, and if I talk to the L&T sector out there and the recruiters out there, do the Joe public know Green King? Do they know Punch? Do they know Marston's? Do they know Star Pubs? They
Mm,
probably don't. But what
mm,
they do know is the local dog and duck that's just
yeah.
become vacant and they want to work there.
Mhm.
How do they find that position? And that's where I think interestingly, how they're finding it is a lot of it is word of mouth is the top one of how they're finding these positions.
Yeah.
And the second one is job boards, which obviously I'm a big advocate of job boards because I own one. And then the other one is through is through company websites. So it's
Mm,
how can we all work a little bit smarter so we can get that position. But I think once we've worked smarter and we found the people to come and work for, your pub, is
mm,
how do we support them once they're in there? Because it's again, the evidence is showing that overall being supportive is good,
mm,
but it can be better.
mm.
And it's since that the recruitment process they're saying is since in 5 years it's gone up by just over 1%.
Yeah.
That it's better. It can be much better. So it's how we can give some top tips on what we're doing. And interestingly, everybody's doing their own thing. So they're calling
Mm,
these so there's so many job. I've never known to run a pub how many job titles there are for when a candidate wants to look to run a pub. And we are the only job board platform that's got a run a pub page because it's relatively quite confusing
mhm,
for a head chef who thinks, actually, my wife is a front of house general manager. I'm a head chef. We can do this on our own. How do we go about it? How do we capture those people that aren't going to the events, that aren't doing the networking, that may not be BII members?
yeah.
So it's like, how do we capture those people? And that's what this is. This is the whole thing about the L&T survey is for everybody to just take a step back, and it's either a pat on the back, you're doing it well, you're doing it great, or actually I've never thought about that, how can I do it better?
Yeah. Well, I just to clarify, by the way, I think that when we have people from the forces and from the police, etc., come into the pub industry and they're the right people, that's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. But I
Mm.
think we were limiting ourselves 15 years
Mm.
ago to just those people, which I think
Yes.
was the
Yeah.
sort of that was
That's
the
yeah,
just
yeah.
to clarify, because I'm a big fan of transitioning people from the
Yeah.
military, from the forces. And my brother did exactly the same, actually. When he left the forces, he went straight into working in a pub and absolutely loved it. But
Mm.
he heard, as you've just said, word of mouth is still number one, then job boards. He heard about that job through word of mouth. And the research that we've just completed says that 1 in 3 people have no idea where to look for job
Oh.
opportunities if they want to run a pub. Now that's bonkers. Can you think of another, you know, another career that is so ubiquitous to the British sort of mindset, running a pub, the way you wouldn't know where to start? I
I think it's amazing to run a pub because the infrastructure that all the pub companies have got is fantastic. They have their BDMs, they do have their onboarding, they have their providing them with courses. But where in the country can you actually run a pub and have accommodation and have your autonomy to do this if you want to do events and if you want to do your own food, or if you just want a great good old wet led pub? And the wet led pubs, I love them. I love going into Wiscot. I was reading an article the other day about the top 10 wet led pubs in London, and they were all saying they've got the sticky floors and they've all got the pickled eggs on the bar. But actually, I don't mind going to them, but I also
I
like.
love a wet led community pub. I love it.
Yeah, and they actually thrive because they just concentrate on
Yeah.
delivering really good experience and beers, and they've got the sport on, or they may not have the sport on. So I just think there's not another industry, and I've worked in recruitment. I used to work in retail recruitment. You
Mm,
can't go in and run a shop in retail where everybody's giving you all the tools, all the products, all the everything, and say, there you go, and you can live above your shop.
yeah.
Maybe occasionally.
And you can make all the decisions
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can
And we
run.
need to make this exciting, Katie. We need to say, this is amazing. You want to run your own business? We're going to give you all the tools. And I think the fear factor is people that don't know much about jobs thinks they've got to invest loads of money.
Yeah.
We need to change that, and we need to change it as in, and I think there's about 3 or 4 elements. I know we go on later, but one of them definitely is to change that perception that you need a lot of money to run a pub.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also need to change the perception that you're not going to make enough money, because the top reason for leaving the
Oh,
pub sector or considering to leave it is there's not enough money in it. It's too hard to make money from it. You know, if you've got the right people in the right pubs,
yeah.
then hopefully we can kind of negate some of those theories. My next question to you then is, how can pub companies better support tenants? I mean, one of my biggest issues with the UK pub industry, and I've had very few because I love the UK pub industry, but we spoke to licensees who have recently, I think within the
Oh,
last 6 months, taken a pub. 92% of those new licensees said there's room for improvement in their pub company's recruitment process.
yeah.
And presumably, if we are falling down at that stage, at the stage of actual recruitment, then what problems are we building up for ourselves and for our licensees in the near future?
I just think it needs to go back to very simple. When you if you're running we'll move away from running a pub. If you're running a restaurant or a hotel or a bar or casual dining concept or whatever, you have normally a 3-month onboarding process
Yeah,
where it onboards you, talks to you about, whether it's about the P&L, whether it's about rotors, whether it's about staff. Now, what they don't do, and not, I don't know anybody that does it exceptionally well, and I would love to be proven wrong, by the way. And if you do it brilliantly, please share it with we need people to stay in this sector.
yeah,
It's like, there's your pub, there's the key. The BDM comes out now. The BDM, or they call it different things, but we call it the BDM for
yeah,
at the moment.
yeah,
They are really experienced people, but they're not experienced in every single element of running a pub, I don't think. And it's evident from when we was at your conference last year, when we were talking about, there was other stats around the business development managers. And I think, first of all, they need to invest in them to say,
yes,
right, these are the 5 or 6 key things you need to be supporting. Obviously finance, but marketing, point of sale, rotors, staff training, but also HR, well-being, mental health. And I think if we can start making sure that they've got all the tools, then when they go in, then they should be able to support that person that's going to be running a pub even better. You're giving these sometimes the keys to people. Yes, there's a lot of process behind it. Yes, they've got to do a business plan. Yes, they've got to go through several interview stages. So the big process until um, uh, the pub sector gives these people the key and say, I don't want to name any pub companies, but a pub company gives the keys and says, there you go, that's your pub. But when they go, I think that on the first month is the most crucial, where they should be on a day, literally on a daily basis, or even every other day, because then they will retain. Because if you can give those people the support, they will stay. But lots of them are saying, you know, some of the feedback that I've heard historically, it's, well, I didn't know if I was allowed to do that. I didn't know if I
yeah,
was able to do that. And I don't know anything about social media. How do I do this? But then I asked my BDM, and he didn't really know about social media, because the BDMs, and no disrespect to the BDMs, most BDMs are 40 upwards, that used to run a pub. And I won't tell you how old I am. I know a lot about social media, but my kids smash it out of the water,
yeah,
what they
yeah,
know. And that's an element around it, because if they want to drive traffic into their pub, or they want to promote their pub, or they want to promote staff, there's an opportunity there. So
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's the onboarding. Let's get the BDMs up to speed. If they haven't got the tools for that, then they're learning tools that are out there, whether it's face to face or whether it's online, is amazing. So that's, I would say, start with your BDM. Make sure your BDM have got the tools, and then it will cascade down.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Dawn. And I think that if you look at TLI results year in and year out, the BDM questions are always, they've got the halo effect. It's very
Yeah,
much, if you've got great BDMs, then you're
yeah,
going to do well in
yeah,
the Business Index survey. But I do strongly believe that there is still a lot more investment to be had in that side of things. We cannot expect people to help other people to run their businesses
yeah,
if they are not capable of doing that themselves. So we need to be investing in BDMs. We need to be investing in
yeah,
the recruitment process.
yeah,
And we just need to be, I think support where support is required is
yeah,
kind of the big thing for me, because these people are entrepreneurs. They are running their own
yeah,
business. They don't want to and shouldn't be told what to do.
no,
But as with any other business, we need to put the building blocks in place in order to support them, for them
Yeah.
to make a success of it.
One thing I did come across, or a couple of things I did come across, is that and this isn't a blame culture to BDMs, because some of them have a lot of pubs they've got to look after,
God,
and
yeah.
it's just not fair
That's
to them.
another issue, though, in my mind. In my mind,
Yeah,
it's spreading out.
definitely,
Yeah,
Kate. Definitely, Katie. It's
yeah,
a big, But one of the I was speaking to someone who recently took over a pub, and they said, my BDM come in, or my area manager came in, and they said, "How are you with social media?" And I'm only picking on social media, and yeah, I'm okay. Oh, okay. Well, I won't run through that with you. I think it should be flipped. Fantastic. Let's run through it, and if you tick all those boxes, at least you know you're doing it right.
yeah.
And I'm
Or
very
maybe
much of
you'll give me some other ideas that I can take to some of my other pubs, even.
Exactly. But they're under, there's a lot of pressure, and these people want to run a pub, and this is the thing: they want to run a pub, they want to have their own business, and the footfall is tough. I'm talking about it tomorrow at the BII conference, about the footfall, and how I've got Star on my panel and Punch. How do they support people when the footfall is down? How do they motivate them and encourage people and say, you can get through this? So it's incredibly tough.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Dawn, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I've got this kind of feeling that we should maybe get a pub together now. What do you reckon?
Oh, I think that would be, I think we'd be very popular, especially if you do something like KOT Ugly on it.
I think, although I've got a horrible feeling that we probably wouldn't make much profit.
I got a
So
horrible feeling,
it would
yeah.
definitely,
So,
it would definitely
yeah,
be a vanity project, I think.
yeah,
Dawn
yeah.
Lawrence, XJ UK, and a plethora of other fingers in pies. Thank you so much for joining me on Hospitality Talks.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.